Hi everyone. So if you are doing the things that I asked you to do, you would have already done a first read through of this selection of Faust by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This is actually a pretty popular story about a man who makes a deal with the devil. And when I come back next Monday, we're going to watch a clip from the play that was written by Christopher Marlowe called The Terrible Tragedy of Dr. Faustus. So I know that the language of this was a little bit hard, and you probably have no idea what's going on with it right now. So we're going to read through it one more time together, and I'm going to kind of give you some hints of things that you should be thinking about and annotating. Okay, so let's just kind of walk through this again. And so the first thing we're going to go on is this kind of introduction from the prologue in heaven. And I put a note here that's talking about how to unpack a text like this. This is very complicated. This is probably, it was written in 1808, so the language is a bit archaic and a bit complicated. So a good tip for these kinds of texts is you don't have to try and understand everything. If you can get the gist of it, of what's going on and the actions that are happening, you're going to be okay. All you need to do is really understand the basis of what's going on. And then from there you can try and decipher line by line. But you're going to get frustrated because you're not going to get every single line. So just try to get the overall meaning. Okay, so don't freak out about it if you have still no clue what's going on. So there are three kinds of main characters or groups of characters that go along in this section. You have the Lord, like God, okay, and then you have the demon Mephistopheles, who again is one of my favorite characters in the world, and then you have the three archangels. Three archangels being Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael. Okay, and these are basically warriors for God. They're the big angels. If you watch Supernatural, you know what I'm talking about. Different things like that. So let's kind of go over some important parts of what Raphael says. He begins with, the sun orb sings in emulation mid brother spheres. Now, brother spheres is kind of an interesting way to talk about the other planets. Think of the sun as kind of, it's the center of our universe, and these other planets are circling around it. They are amid or in the middle of this ancient round, meaning that they revolve around the sun. Okay, so if you didn't know what brother spheres are, it's the other planets in our solar system. Then you have later on, basically, okay, if I'm going to talk about the gist of this, Raphael is just talking about the sun, the glory of God, same thing. And then you have Gabriel, who kind of does something a little bit opposite. He talks about this awful night. And so the night is contrasted to day here, but overall, the reader gets this understanding both by listening to Raphael and Gabriel that the universe is vast and amazing and awe-inspiring and magnificent, whether it's day or whether it's night. So keep that in mind. And again, this is just the gist of it. If you didn't get every single line of that, just think overall, what is he trying to say? And it would be a good idea to maybe even sum up each of these paragraphs. And then we get Michael, who talks about this rival storm who comes abroad. Okay, there's something very ominous in the tone here. Now, what could this be? Is he talking about the character of Faust, who we haven't even met yet? Is he maybe foreshadowing the appearance of Mephistopheles or some thing that happens? Okay, so think about the tone that's there, right? Sorry, I lost, my computer fell. Sorry. Okay, the awful nights, intense, profound, the ocean tides and foam are breaking against the rock's deep bases hurled, and both the spheric race partaking, eternal swift, our onward world. Keep in mind the rhyme there as well, but it's not a very nice tone. We don't really know what's going on yet, so keep that in mind. I think I read the wrong part. Okay, sorry, I'm a hot mess right now. Michael and rival storms are abroad are searching. And then, so Michael's kind of using this ominous tone at the beginning of what he's talking about. And then he does this little turn. Yet, Lord, thy messengers are praising the gentle movement of thy day. Kind of a suck up thing there. And despite the darkness of the previous lines, the angels want to reassure God that they still praise his name, as they should, or they should be doing since they are his servants. So I just wanted to keep that in mind as you're going through here. Okay, then you have Mephistopheles come in at the end. And just so you know, a little tidbit here that's pretty interesting to know is the name of Mephistopheles. And Mephistopheles is derived from the Hebrew Mephes, which means destroyer, and Tophel, liar. Basically, his name means falsehood plasterer, right? So kind of understand his character through that. And he's kind of a sassy little character. If you kind of read this line, since thou, O Lord, deignst to approach again, and ask us how we did in manner kindness, and heretofore to meet myself went in vain, among thy menials now my face thou findest. Pardon, this troop I cannot follow after with lofty speech, through by them scorned and spurned. My pathos certainly would move thy laughter, if thou hadst all merriment unlearned. So he's a little bit sassy, a little bit sarcastic here. And basically he's kind of making fun of the other angels, like, oh, sorry, God, I can't live up to these great words that these angels are saying. I'm just going to tell it like it is. And then we kind of get to a line down here. He calls it reason, okay? He calls it reason. Notice how reason is capitalized here. Thence his powers increased. Reason is another word for wisdom or knowing. Okay, so this is a kind of an allusion back to the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, Eve ate from the tree of wisdom, allowing her and Adam to know the difference between good and evil. This idea of free thought could be interpreted or as reason or as knowledge. And in this world right here, too much of reason is a bad thing. You start questioning things. You start questioning God and the universe when you really shouldn't. So that ends up being the downfall of some people there. And then you have here a few lines down. And in the grass the same old ditty sings, would he still lay among the grass he grows in. So it's talking about a grasshopper here. And this line here is kind of intimating that if man had infinite knowledge, would he be content with his place in life? Now think of this through Faust's eyes. You know, you're just a man. You want knowledge, and you're kind of stuck in your ways. If you were able to gain more knowledge, would you be content to stay where you are, or would you try for bigger and better things? That's the question that we have to think about. So the Lord asks, you know, have you nothing else to mention? Are you coming here with ill intention? And he's like, no, Lord, I find things there still bad as they can be on earth. Man's misery even to pity moves my nature. I've scarce the heart to plague the wretched creature. I want to question, is that really true? Can a demon such as Mephistopheles really feel pity? Why would he say something like that? Uh-oh, let me go back. Okay, now, the Lord questions, do you know Faust? And Mephistopheles does know the Dr. Faust. And he has this line here. He says, forsooth, he serves you after strange devices. No earthly meat or drink the fool suffices. His spirits ferment far aspireth, half conscious of his frenzied crazed unrest. The fairest stars from heaven he requireth, from earth the highest raptures and the best, and all the near and far that he desireth fails to subdue the tumult in his breath. So, Faust's unrest is compared to this vicious beast in a metaphor. And the unrest here goes back to that idea of gaining knowledge. Faust wants knowledge desperately, more than he wants food or drink, and he is unsatisfied with the earthly things in this world. He wants more, and that ends up becoming his downfall. Down here, Mephistopheles says, what will you bet? So they're going to create a bet. And if you know the story of Job, the man of infinite patience in the Bible, this is very much along the same line. The Lord is saying that Faust will not turn away from him. And Mephistopheles is saying, you want to bet? I will make this man sell his soul to me. So what will you bet? There's still a chance to gain him, if unto me full leave you give, gently upon my road to train him. So there's a bet for Faust's soul. Will he go to the Lord, or will his quest for knowledge lead him to the road to hell? And you can, hopefully we'll talk about that on Monday when you make a decision on that. There's an archaic word here that you might come across often after the Lord. He says to err. He cannot choose but err. Error is just the shortened word of error, or to make a mistake. We're getting towards the end. of this now. I have a few more things to talk about. So, okay, the Lord says, enough, what thou hast asked is granted. Turn off the spirit from his fountainhead to trap him. Let thy snares be planted. The Lord says, okay, bring it on. Let's do this bet. But then you're going to stand abashed. So basically God is telling Mephistopheles to try and trap Faust all he wants, but in the end, Faust will remember the one true way, the way to God, basically. Although that's not really true. Mephistopheles makes a really interesting reference in the next line. He says, agreed, but 'tis a short probation. About my bet I feel no trepidation. If I fulfill my expectation, you'll let me triumph with a swelling breast. Dust he shall eat, and with a zest, as did a certain snake, my near relation. That snake, certain snake, that's an allusion to Satan. And again, going back to the Garden of Eden, my near relation, obviously Mephistopheles serves Satan or Lucifer, and that's his near relation. Therein thou art free, according to thy merits. The like of thee have never moved my hate. Of all the bold and denying spirits, the waggish knave least trouble doth create. And so the waggish knave here is another word for Mephistopheles. The Lord's kind of amused right now at the braggishness of Mephistopheles. He's unconcerned at the moment because overconfident demons like Mephistopheles have never concerned him before. And then we get to the end. Heaven closes, the archangels separate, and then Mephistopheles ends this section. This is just in the prologue. I like at times to hear the ancient's word, and have a care to be most civil. It's really kind of such a noble Lord, so humanly to gossip with the devil. So again, another little sassy bit here. He's another type of kind of sarcasm. He definitely has a strong personality, and he does not react very well to authority. Oh, God deigned to talk to me. Oh, it's so kind of him to speak with us lesser mortals, is basically what he's trying to say there. So hopefully this little rereading helped you expand on your thoughts a little bit more and helped clarify some things. So now you get to answer those think questions, and good luck.